Hi, hunters. Thank you for tuning into the Flusham and Dustin podcast, brought to you by Nick and Tyler, the boys from Ring Next Retrievers. In this podcast, we will talk about guns, dogs, gear, and our successes and failures in the field through our combined 40 years of experience. We speak with hunters just like you from across the nation about their days in the field and the many memories they built with their friends and family. We are excited to have you listen. Now let's get to Flushing and Dustin.
Hunters, welcome back to another episode of the Flusham and Dustin podcast. We have a special guest from the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. So obviously she is from North Dakota. Her name is Cayla Bendel. She is an upland hunter, outdoor enthusiast, and we'll let her introduce herself. She's going to be better at that than I am.
No problem. Thanks for having me. My name's Kayla. Originally hail from Minnesota, but I've called Bismarck, North Dakota home for the last, it's almost going to be 5 years this summer. Kind of a Jill of all trades, I guess, but increasingly spending more time in the uplands as it's just like really addicting. The dog's getting better, and I just love how easy it is to just go grab him and the gun, and not as much input to some of the other types of hunting we do. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What drew you to North Dakota out of Minnesota?
So I went to school in Crookston, Minnesota, which is kind of on the edge of North Dakota. I went to school for wildlife biology, and a lot of people drifted west for job opportunities. And I was I always called them like sellouts, didn't want to leave the beautiful Minnesota. But ended up going to grad school at NDSU in Fargo, and then got offered a really cool job with Pheasants Forever, but had to move to Bismarck. And I tried to say it because I was working from home, if I could live in Fargo, just because it was closer to Minnesota, but they insisted Bismarck, and I'm glad they did because it feels like home. Love it. Love that it's still close to home, but a lot of great opportunities in North Dakota.
Yeah. What?
It's basically hunting paradise up there, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess I grew up doing a lot of outdoor adventures on the weekends, and I love that everything is so close or within driving proximity of Bismarck that now I can do a lot of stuff on weeknights too, and you're not just waiting for the weekend. Just less pressure over here too.
How far west is that?
So from like Fargo?
Yeah, or from let's just say the eastern border of North Dakota.
Yeah, so Fargo sits right on the border. So it's like a little over 200 miles or like 2.5 hour drive.
Oh, nice. So you are way out there.
It's kind of like right, maybe a little bit west, but almost in the middle of the state.
That's awesome. So you work for the North Dakota Game and Fish Department, right? What's your role with them?
So my title is R3 coordinator, which stands for Hunter and Angler Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation. So just kind of keeping track of our hunting and fishing license sales, and then figuring out ways to get new people involved, trying to find opportunities that are maybe underutilized and kind of market those more than some of our already really competitive ones. And it just kind of involves everyone in the agency, from things like, can we stock this new fishery? Do we need to upgrade this boat ramp? Do we need to provide more resources for people to find places to hunt, places to fish? Kind of just keeping everyone thinking about that on the top of their mind. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So have you seen, so you've worked for North Dakota Game and Fish for, you said 5 years?
Moved to Bismarck for a job with Pheasants Forever and worked for them for a little over 3 years. So I've only been on with Game and Fish for about 1.5 years.
Yeah. So for the upland hunting, have you seen any increases, decreases in in-state and out-of-state licenses? You guys track both, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so one thing that's a little bit tough is we switched to an entirely online licensing system in 2015, and I think we were the first state to make that transition, but that means we can't accurately measure things before 2015, because if anyone was buying like a paper license at Shields, it wasn't getting tracked, or any vendor, not just Shields, but not from us. But overall, just kind of, we're actually not in like a desperate mode that many other states are in. Prior to the COVID bump of 2020, we were kind of seeing steady increases in our licensing sales, like hunting licensing sales across the board. And then 2020, big bump. And we're down from 2021, which most states are experiencing, just things returned to normal. They got busy. And non-residents, we have our 14-day license. That's been increasing since it's been increasing, I guess, the non-resident 14-day small game, but our resident small game has been decreasing. And I guess there's some tricky things to measure there because we offer a combination license, and that's been increasing a little, but combination license includes your small game, your angling, and your fur bear, and all of those have been seeing decreases. So that slight increase in a combination isn't making up for all those, but nothing too scary, but definitely keeping an eye on it.
So do you guys track demographics per se, so like age groups and that type of stuff? Have you seen younger age group increasing, or is that not the case?
So seeing a lot of increases in women, but women have a higher churn rate, so we're quick to get recruited and then kind of fall off quickly too. So that happens quite a bit in all of our types of hunting. And then little bit, this is a nationwide trend for sure, increases in the average age of a hunter. And we're starting to see that a little bit. It's not like statistically significant, but certainly increases in those older age groups. But I think small game hunting is one that sees that more than some of the other types of hunting.
Nice. Well, that's an very interesting position. So are you out in the field a lot, or are you mainly in the office?
Mainly in the office. Occasionally, there's some days where I can't believe it's my job, but occasionally I go out in the field in terms of like getting to go hunting or fishing if we need like the content and the video or photo content for it for a specific like marketing. But a lot of times like the focus is really on getting video, so it's not always like just super relaxing. But most days I'm in the office.
Nice. That sounds like a lot more fun than my office job. So definitely can't beat that. But so did you upland hunt before you moved to North Dakota, or is that something you picked up after moving to North Dakota?
I'll mostly say it picks up moving here. I guess the very first type of hunting I was introduced to was rough grouse hunting in Minnesota.
Oh, nice.
My dad used to take my brother and I, particularly, we probably went a few other times, but on Minnesota, like educators break in October, we'd always have a couple days off of school and we would go up north and go rough grouse hunting. But I often ask my brother, because I was pretty little, my dad had a German short hair named Hawk, but I don't really like recall any significant thing that he did. I feel like he was just there running around and like often got lost. And I asked my brother a couple of years ago, like, did he ever even point or like do anything? And he said he saw him point a few times, but never like point, bird, flush. And he only got to go a couple times a year, so I don't blame him. But so you can kind of count that was my first exposure, but didn't really like seriously upland hunt at all until moving here.
So when you moved to North Dakota, obviously growing up, you had the German short hair, and you're running the Poodle Pointer now, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So were you introduced to that breed from someone in North Dakota, or what drew you to the Poodle Pointer?
So this is like a dumb story. I feel like I should have a more intelligent answer, but I was in grad school in Fargo. I wanted so my parents were divorced. I lived with my mom, so never really I asked for a puppy every year for Christmas. I wanted a puppy. In my mind, it was always a lab. But never got one. Was in grad school, like, okay, I'm gonna get a dog. But was getting, I don't remember if I had gotten offered the Pheasants Forever position or just had applied and was daydreaming, but figuring like, I'm gonna spend more time in a lot of good upland hunting territory and surrounded by people that are really passionate about upland hunting. So I think I was reading a Pheasants Forever article that was talking about versatile dogs, which at the time, like I hadn't even heard of the term versatile dogs. But just started Googling different ones that are versatile, because me and my husband waterfowl hunted quite a bit. Well, he was my boyfriend at the time, but and then just knew, well, if we're going to be upland hunting too. I also was kind of into like running long distances, so I like the idea of a little bit more endurance. And just like I like the like sleek athletic build of pointers, but came across Poodle Pointers, was reading about them, sent a picture to, again, my boyfriend, now husband, and he was like, what? No, we're not. What is this? What is a poodle pointer? I probably thought it was pronounced puddle pointer at the time. But yeah, I guess we moved out here. I was working from home, didn't know anybody in Bismarck, and he was working in construction and getting home at like 10. And it took me like a week, and I was like, we're getting a dog now because I can't take it anymore. And we were on some waiting lists for some breeders, but I just started kind of digging in further and got connected with a family back in Minnesota that had a litter and had one left and was exactly what we wanted, a brown male. And just kind of clicked.
How old is he?
And what was the litter you had? Now that I'm fully functioning.
Yeah. So it was just a family. They did end up naming their naming themselves Lakeview Ridges, but they only had 2 litters with their female. And their female is from Hay Devils out of South Dakota. And then they bred, at least in my dog's litter, they bred her to a male out of Cedar Point in Ontario, which is pretty well known poodle pointer. But yeah, he is, let's see, we got him in 2017. He's born in June, so he'll be 5 in June. He's 4.5.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, Nick, do you want to ask her any specific questions about the poodle pointer, since I don't know if you want to bust the news?
I mean, wife and I had a long conversation, and I've been hemming and hawing, and we were going to get a lab, and we met one of my buddies down here that I hunt with. He has a poodle pointer, and my wife really liked it, and I liked him too. So we're going to switch gears, and instead of getting a lab this fall, we're going to get a poodle pointer.
Awesome. I don't think you'll regret it. When other people talk to me about them, I feel like they're like the lab transition dog. They're very lab personality like, I guess.
So the guy that I hunted with, he's had 4 or 5 labs his life, and I've had 3, and he's like, I'll never switch back. So yeah.
That's crazy. I couldn't believe he was switching either, because he's had the lab for so long. But they are cool dogs.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Obviously Nick is hunted over one now, and I've never hunted over one. What's their upland style, and do you take it waterfowl hunting as well?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things about him, or I guess when people ask, is like, I definitely picked him because he's versatile and because we're versatile. So I don't know that I would like try to sell him as the world's best. We hunt with, we have a good friend that runs a setter, and it's like, yeah, this dog is unmatched for like big prairie in September sharptail hunting. Like, our dog can't necessarily keep up to a setter's endurance and heat tolerance. But in terms of just like all around, super solid pheasant dog, that's definitely his bread and butter, is like cattails, pheasants. But I love when we, like in that November, December time, when we're going back and forth between pheasant hunting, and then he can just like sit in a layout blind steady, and is like, I can tell I wish I could ask him, which one do you like better? Because he's so excited about, if you drive around, he knows the difference between like rooster or goose, and he'll look up if there's geese and like find them in the sky, and rooster if it's on the road running across. So I just love how versatile they are. But yeah, we hunt them over water, field hunting, because we kind of waterfowl hunted more than we upland hunted when we first got them. So
Nice.
He kind of started on a lot of waterfowl, and then we slowly started figuring out what we were doing upland hunting. So yeah,
it was tough for me to make that call, because I do love labs, and I always will. But as my wife put it, you only live once. Why can't we try something new at least once? If you don't like it, then we'll go back. And I like to be a little daring, and I like to fly a different direction usually to most people. So I was like, all right, you talked me into it. Let's try it. And I'm gonna have him trained and stuff. So it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the joke is that my husband gets to pick our next dog, and he's definitely a lab guy. And every time I ask him, he's like, we're going to get another poodle pointer. I don't think he's going to go lab, but.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. I want to see one hunt over one. I think they'd be a fun dog to watch and whatnot, just listening to Nick. And so does your, when you're hunting with, sorry, I don't even know if you said the dog's name.
I don't know if I've said it. It's Finley.
Finley, that's right. So when Finley's hunting, are you able to tell, does he have a certain demeanor when he's close to pheasants. Some pointers are like the way their body reacts. I know Nick was saying the one that he hunted over, maybe Nick, you can help with this, his tail would like wag.
Yeah. So he would, the birds were running. So it was a different, it was different. Normally you get a pointer and they lock up, they're there. He would like slow up and creep walk almost, and his tail would slowly be wagging. And I'd be like, so what the hell is he doing? He's like almost to a stop, but he's just like walking really slow. He's like, he's on scent. He's waiting to find it. And then all of a sudden, bam. And every damn time he did it, there was a bird or two birds. And it was crazy to me because normally like a lab, they get on scent and they're just
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And he slowed up and he said that's the thing that I love about him the most, because he's like, my labs, I had to make sure I was in marathon shape through the weeds to keep up with them. And he's like, this my dog now, and I don't know if that's how your dog is, but his would literally slow down once it got on scent, and then it would just like walk to the bird. And I was like, that's pretty cool actually. Like you knew when there was a bird because he would just stop running almost and then just bam.
I don't know if he quite does that. I mean, certainly I think hopefully anyone that runs a bird dog, I can tell when he's getting birdie. I mean, he's quick turns, his tail's wagging really fast. And I've seen him do like a creep walk. He does it a lot on sharp tails. I think he is like, doesn't know how close to point the sharp tail. So I see him do that a lot on sharp tails, but pheasants, it's pretty much like a drop, like he's going and I know he's birdie and then he just turns right into like a solid point, I guess, like most pointers. So I don't know that I've seen him do the creep walk thing a few times, or he does it a lot. As a puppy all the time, he'd do it with his toys. Like you could throw his toy and then they like creep walk up to it. I've also seen him do it to dragonflies while swimming, which is really funny. Like it's just coasting on a dragonfly.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to me. And then the other thing that I liked about him too is like they got such long hair on their face. And we were hunting together. His dog got a bird, and he reminded me like of a surfer dude. He like had a bird in his mouth. It was like he was smiling, his hair's bouncing. Like, yeah, dude, yeah, man. And I was like, your dog's like a fucking rock star, man. It's like he's just rocking out here. So yeah, it'll definitely be a different experience, but we're excited to try it. And I've had a great experience over. He's the only one I've ever hunted over, but hopefully they're all kind of like that.
Yeah.
Did your husband then, did he have labs before this?
Yeah. Yep.
Did he say anything like transition wise, like a different training style with the Poodle Point compared to his labs, or?
He's probably not going to love that I say this, but I really did do a bulk of the training.
Nice.
But I think one thing we always will sometimes say it to Finley, like he should have been a lab, is just like I should have spent more time on retrieving at a younger age, but it's really good now. But I had to go back and like force fetch him at like a year and a half. And I think some of that is just like so ingrained in labs, like they didn't even really have to spend all that much time on it with labs. But it's definitely something you want to like start soon. And yeah, I mean he's a solid retriever now for sure.
Nice.
But
I'm having him force fetched.
Yeah. Yep. That helped a ton.
Diesel here.
Yeah.
So
and then just training a pointer, I guess, is obviously just different than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you use a lot of like launchers, or how did you go about
No,
that?
it'll be interesting now that when I got him, I had no idea what I was doing. So now that I am a little bit more versed in the bird dog world, it'll be interesting to have another puppy. But we're fortunate, like I feel spoiled all the time. Bismarck has these little like green spaces, I don't know, little parks, just secret areas that maybe aren't like advertised that you can walk your dog off leash, but and they all like held birds. So his biggest thing I think was just I was working from home. I still almost walk him off leash every day. And was like getting on birds a couple times a week. And just kind of honing that in from that standpoint. So I didn't use a ton of like launchers or anything like that, which I didn't know that much about, but I just feel like we hunted him a lot. We got him he was born in June. We got him in August, and we just like hunted him the first season. Like, well, he'll get excited about it. He'll have fun. And we'll kind of put some reins on over the next year after that season. But
and he had probably natural pointing and all that.
Yeah, they point. I mean, I think most pointers, they point from like puppies. You can do the whole wing and they'll point. But yeah, he was like pointing for sure that by the late season that year, he already had like points on birds that we shot, which was
Nice. That's
I mean,
awesome.
still plenty of mistakes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Can't blame for a first year dog, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way it is. Growing curve or
Mhm.
learning curve. But do you hunt? So obviously with being with the game and fish department, you probably have a lot of little secret spots that you know about. Do you hunt mainly public land or do you hunt a lot of private ground too? Or how does
Yeah,
North
I
Dakota's
just
public land work?
yeah, I can't remember where I just like posted it, but I was keeping tally this year of like days hunted. And I think I hunted anyways, which not all of this was upland hunting, but like 62 days and 2 of those were on private land. So pretty exclusively public
Nice.
land. And they were for like events that I was helping out with kind of. So yeah, pretty exclusively public land. I think we're just super fortunate here. I like to keep my like close to Bismarck spots close to my chest just because they're like I can go there after work and
Yeah.
but still like I shouldn't say this, but it's just like there are so many spots close like within 20 minutes I can get to after work that like you could shoot not me, but someone could shoot their 3 birds at.
That's crazy.
And I like don't often like right during the first 2 weeks of the season you'll run into some trucks, but it's like I don't pull up very often and have to leave. So super fortunate. A lot of plots land, which is our private lands access or our walk-in access program. We hunt a lot of WPAs, waterfowl production areas, particularly late season.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like I don't know that you can like there if it has a cattail slough, there'll be a couple birds in there. And then we just slowly learn which ones have more birds than others. But those are probably our primary 2 for uplands, and then land's getting increasingly posted, but here in North Dakota, you can hunt unposted land without permission. This year they introduced electronic posting, so you have to make sure it's not physically posted or electronically posted.
Is that on an app?
Yeah, so it's on a couple different apps, and then we were fortunate to partner with Onyx, so they added that layer. So that was really slick. So you do have to just double check that, but I think in today's world, most people are on Onyx anyways. And we did a weekend late season up in the northwest part of the state, and there was a lot of unposted land, so we hunted a lot of that too. So we're pretty fortunate here.
What's it look like about the second weekend of December?
Yeah.
I mean, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, just asking for a friend.
Not like we're not planning anything or anything, but maybe we are.
No, December's a really good time. I think a lot of people have fallen off. Obviously our deer or maybe that's not obvious, but our deer seasons are closed. A lot of our duck seasons are closed. There's just a lot less people out and about. If you can get some snow on the ground, the birds are concentrated. December's probably the month that we shoot the most pheasants, but also because we stopped doing all those other things too. But
yeah.
Bird population, maybe you said this, have obviously had some technical difficulties there. Good up there, pheasant wise.
Yeah, so we're in a drought still, and we had a pretty rough summer, and the bird numbers coming out of the summer, like brood counts, weren't looking great. One of the things that we talked about was that a lot of our ditches were mowed, and just a lot of stuff was hayed and mowed. And so the way we do those survey counts is we just drive along these predetermined routes and then count broods that are on the roadside. And usually you try to pick like a really dewy morning because they're out on the roadsides trying to dry off. And so one of the things we talked about was maybe just with everything being like hayed and mowed due to drought, they didn't need to do that. They could just go dry off wherever, because broodside counts like did not look good for most parts of the state. And I thought it was going to be like just a rough year. And in terms of hunting, like I think it was as good, if not maybe a little better than the year before. So I don't know if just that survey method just didn't like accurately portray or we just got lucky. Yeah. And there certainly, I think, were maybe like pockets where just they got timely rains right when the chicks were at a good time or whatever it might be. Because there did seem like there was pockets where there should have been more birds, but all in all, not too shabby if we can not have too crazy of a winter and maybe get out of this drought this summer.
Yeah.
But
do you have snow up there now?
Yeah, we had a really nice weekend, so a bunch of it melted, but there's still some around.
Yeah,
It's
we
kind of always
we
here.
got blasted last week. I don't even remember my days anymore.
Yeah.
But last week, we got down here. I think we got about 15 inches in Des Moines.
Oh, geez. We got, I
Yeah.
think, 8. So that's a shit ton.
Trying to think when our last big, I don't think we got that one. I'm trying to think when our last big snowstorm was, a couple weeks ago. Big one on Christmas. That stuck around for a while.
Did you guys this year? So we went to South Dakota this year, and on the public ground, everything besides the waterfowl production areas was hayed. All the public land. Is that how it was in North Dakota this year?
Yeah, so a lot of I guess another pro tip, if you look on
I
Onyx, you
like
can
pro
see
tips.
I'm not a pro, I guess I shouldn't have called it a rookie tip. You can see the type of plots that it's enrolled in. So like we'll often key in on CRP or habitat, it'll say hab, but those are some of the ones we'll like go to look at. But a lot of the CRP was hayed because of the drought. We opened CRP haying. So then you roll up and I mean, you can just tell it doesn't look like good bird cover, but certain parts of the state, like we ran into that less in the Northwest. I don't know if they just weren't in as desperate of a mode, or there's certainly ones that are still habitat plantings where they didn't go in and mow it. So there was still plenty of grass to be had, but maybe kind of had to be picky about your spots.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super frustrating. The one day we were looking and it's like every freaking plot we pulled up to hayed.
Yeah.
It's like, and then, at that point where we were, there wasn't a ton of public ground where we were in South Dakota. So there was more trucks and everybody else was having the same problem. So then you're more condensed to small, less spots to go to. And yeah, you could tell the birds were definitely pressured. We went to one waterfowl production area and I think I stepped on one cattail and it was just like 100 something yards out, just birds flying everywhere. And I'm like, God damn it. But it was also super warm when we went. So that didn't help anything.
Yeah, it's 60 degrees plus out there.
Yeah. Jeez. And that was over Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So which seems like every year it's getting warmer and warmer later in the year.
For sure.
It's frustrating. But so obviously you gotta tell us some good stories. You knew like you say, you knew it was coming. You don't they don't have to be with the dog or anything. It can be back in Minnesota or in the North Dakotas.
I'm just trying to think of like I guess I'll start with this would be my first pheasant. So no dog in the picture. And it was 2000, I have the picture right here, but 2015 New Year's Eve. So didn't grow up grew up doing just a little bit of rough grouse hunting, and then later on in high school slowly got into bow hunting, but didn't really grow up upland hunting. And the extent of my pheasant hunting was that my grandpa had a farm. So I'm from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. He had a farm near New Prague, Minnesota. And like every once in a while, if we were home or whatever, my brother and I would go down there and just like walk he had 2 little CRP chunks and then like a swamp behind his house. So just like, if we happen to be home at the same time from school or something like that, but never had a dog. And I, at that point was like, I'm still not a very good shot, but didn't shoot like shot once a year or something. So
don't even bring it up, Nick.
Are you related to Tyler or what?
I don't know if you listened to our episodes, but it seems like every single one, they got to talk about my shooting skills.
Okay. No, it's not good. But so it was New Year's Eve. We were both home for school, like on winter break or whatever. Went down to my grandpa's farm. Walked this CRP chunk that was, I think it's like 7 acres. It's pretty small. And a rooster gets up. We both shoot. And then we both miss. It flies to the other section that he owns, a 4-acre chunk of CRP. And I asked him like, why didn't you shoot again or something like that? He's like, I shot twice. So at one point, like one of our shots was at the same time. So 3 shots at it, didn't scathe it. Went to the 4-acre CRP chunk. So we walk over to the 4-acre, like drive up, walk the 4 acres, get to like where we think it is. it flushes. He shoots. I decide not to. It was like facing the road. I'm still a really conservative shooter, but was definitely even worse then. So he shoots, misses. So 4 shots unscathed, goes back to the 8 acres of CRP, which I always like to point at this point, like CRP works because it was surrounded by just plowed fields. So his only options were these 2 CRP chunks. And we said, okay, we'll go back one more time. If he makes it out of this, like he wins. And there was or I guess he had asked the farmer, my grandpa wasn't farming at this point, to leave up this like row of corn. So there was like maybe 4 little rows of corn, and we were both pretty sure that he was in these rows of corn. So we walk back, we're walking these rows of corn north. We get to the end, which we don't hunt a lot of corn, but I've now learned, like, you get to the end, you look, I can see through the corn stalks to my brother. There's only 4 rows and I don't see a rooster, but somehow one appears from the 4 stalks, and like whatever flushes. Again, we both shoot and nothing happens. Like, I don't understand. It's like, okay, well, this one, but it did which again, this was all new to me, but it like flew super high in the air, really far out, and it just dropped. So one of us hit it. I don't know who. Walk across and we can't find it. Don't have a dog. It's just somewhere in this plowed field. But after like 15 minutes, my brother like holds it up from the distance and we cheer. And again, we didn't pheasant hunt very often. Like, super excited. Like, he didn't have a ton. It wasn't a great place to hunt, but put it in the bag. And I kind of wanted to like know whether that, like, I don't know, we both shot at a similar time. And because it didn't drop like right away, I don't know if it was mine or not.
Yeah.
So we go hit the swamp behind my grandpa's house. And there's this one little like patch of willows that you can just see like all the tracks going into it. And my brother took the high side and I took the low side, which you're always trying to guess which side they're gonna flush out of. But birds start flushing before we even get up there, and he's yelling like hen, hen, hen. And there was like maybe 15 hens in there, and then one rooster flushed out like right in front of me. I don't know, somehow my gun worked. I mean, it wasn't really close, easy shot, but lifted my gun, shot, dropped it, and just like again, I hadn't wing shooted a lot. I feel like I was in a lot of like waterfall situations in college where you're just like there for the extra limit, or like maybe I hit that bird, but I don't know, because there's 4 people shooting. And so it felt good to like, all right, I got my first pheasant, was super proud, excited that my brother got one. We go back up to my grandpa's to tell him, and he's kind of like rough around the edges a little bit, but walk inside to tell him, because he's like, you can hunt, but you got to stop in and let me know how you did after. And so I walk in, at this point it's 2015, I'm 22 years old, and I'm like, Grandpa, I shot my first rooster. And he's like, why in the Sam hell did it take you so long?
He probably heard all the shooting.
Yeah.
You get hooked right after it, though.
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You can finish your story, then I'll ask.
I was just gonna say, he's like, well, your cousin Jeremy, because he lives in the area, was out there with like my uncle Dave yesterday, and they shot at a rooster 3 times. And so we like added it all up, and we were like, this rooster had 9 lives.
Yeah, the elusive rooster.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So your first pheasant hunting experience was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Basically, I had walked his farm maybe like 2 other times, but yeah.
So when was your first experience hunting pheasants over a dog?
So yeah, it would have been, I'm trying to think if there would have been like any PF events or anything prior to getting Finley, but I don't think so. I think it would have been little puppy Finley we had no idea what we were doing, at a WMA not far from Bismarck. I did shoot a pheasant that day. I think it was pheasant opener of the year we got him. And we just walked like a wheat food plot, which that WMA now would have like 3 trucks parked at it on opening weekend. So I don't know why it was open. But he didn't do anything, I don't think. Yeah.
So do you remember like the first point with Finley and bird shot over top of him?
I do. I had a little Instagram story about it, but I was at a Pheasants Forever meeting. We were having like a team meeting at Sticklestead Lodge, which is in southeast North Dakota by like Fort Ransom. I don't know how familiar people would be.
I'm not familiar with North Dakota.
Yeah. And so we were leaving the team. We did do a couple like little hunts just to like break up our meetings, but nothing really productive. It was more to like walk people's dogs. And that was the cool thing about Pheasants Forever. Everyone has dogs. Everything's dog friendly. All your meetings, everyone's bringing dogs and hunting their way there, hunting their way home. But
that's awesome.
Leaving it, I carpooled with my coworker, Renee, and we just stopped at this plot section. I was trying to remember if it was, we stopped at this little plot section, plot CRP, and just had Finley along. And I remember trying to like keep him out of the section we thought there were going to be birds in so we could walk it into the wind. And one did get up wild that she shot, but then he went on point, and I said, go for it, because it was closer to her. And I feel like I'm getting a lot more confident now that I've had him for a while and have a lot of confidence in him. But at that time, I was just always like, someone else take it. I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
She's a really good shot. So I let her, like I said, go for it. He's right there on point by you. And she flushed it, and 2 roosters got up and she shot them both. And he didn't retrieve them at that point, but it was pretty cool. And then she had a lab at that time, but she now has she got a German wire hair puppy this year, and I shot her wire hair's first pheasant this year on pheasant opener. So
nice.
Just kind of a cool little
repaid the favor,
I guess. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about your Poodle Pointer? What do you think is cool, and what makes you switch from a lab to that?
So I think, like I said, just like their versatility, and both in terms of like hunting, like I love how I can tell that he is equally excited about watching geese lock up in a layout blind as he is, and like steady in a layout blind, and then ability to go like run, like the endurance to go pheasant hunt all day. And just like having that pointing aspect is so cool and so needed for me as a terrible shot. I need the time to go walk up to his point and know that there's going to be a bird flushing. And then just versatility, like honestly, just around the house, like they're so goofy and funny. And not that, I mean, labs are pretty personable, but he comes ice fishing with us. He comes in the boat with us, and he kind of just has like, they have a great off switch, so he can have the energy to go hunt for an entire weekend and then also just like hang out. We put him in a little sled in our ice house. And it started out unintentionally, but me and my husband have a pretty competitive shed hunting competition every year, but Finley got more sheds than I did last year. So it's also brings back sheds, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm excited about too. Just from, like I said, the one dog that I've been around, his name is Diggs. He's super cool, super personal. It seemed like he was over energetic when we were in buildings, or like Diesel was constantly we had dead birds. He's constantly trying to get out the door to get birds. His dog, there's only 2, and he was just like laid down, and Diesel's gonna be 8. Not that he's like really excited dog, but he just constantly wants birds and constantly wants. So it was nice to see his off switch. But then when we went to the field, he obviously outran the lab. Diggs did. He was a little bit more rangy, had a little bit more energy. Maybe that's the age, but I think it's just probably the pointer in him being able to get a little bit more rangy.
Yeah, he's kind of like all or nothing. Like our friend mentioned, like when we were up in the Northwest, he runs a setter, and like he's like, I couldn't tell in the field that your dog was like tired, but then we're back at the hotel and he's just like in bed, passed out, not moving. And his dogs, I mean, they're still going. His setter and he has a Brittany too, but they're just kind of like all in, hunting really hard or just chilling. So that's really nice.
It looks like you run rec specs. Is that correct?
As of this year, yeah.
How was that train? Like, how did that adjustment period to get them on?
So I kind of feel like, so my husband has glasses, and then he has prescription super cool Oakleys. So a little bit of it was like, he did order the reflective lenses, but honestly, like I kind of get defensive when people were like just thinking I was doing it to be cool, because we hunt a lot of cattails late season, and over Thanksgiving weekend we hunted him 4 days in a row, I think. Because like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and like I couldn't even look at his eyes were so cut up. I don't know if it's like the shape of their head or something he specifically does in the cattails, but like just red, raw, bleeding. We actually didn't hunt him one little last final hunt because I was like, I can't watch his face just get so cut up. So we decided we'd try him out. I didn't know if they would work, if they'd stay on, if he'd hate them. And we started with just like the standard clear lenses, and we just put him on in the house. And he was like definitely a little weirded out, same as if you put like booties or something on him, but didn't seem like he wasn't like freaking out or anything. So then we just put him on one hunt, and if he's hunting, he doesn't really care. I mean, you can tell when we're back at the truck, he's like messing around with them, but while he's hunting, it didn't seem to bother him at all. And it really did save his eyes for the whole rest of the season. So
nice.
I don't think we'll put him on when we're hunting like grass type stuff. But any cattails.
Yeah, those cattails are freaking disastrous on dogs. And although especially like even us walking through them, when you hit the top of them and all that white stuff comes out, you can't see anything. Yeah, it's freaking annoying. Is there different sizes of those rec specs, or do they just come in one and then you gotta adjust it?
Yeah, so they come in different sizes, and we did just follow the measurements on their website. So I think he was a large. I think they come in extra small to extra large, but then they do have a little bit of adjustability too, like within that size. So.
Nice. Yeah, I've looked into them, but we don't in Iowa. We don't really have where we hunt a ton of cattails, and I had one close call with Murph. He had a stick go right up above his eye, just like it was yay long, but if it would have been about 2 centimeters lower, it would have went right into his eye, so that would have definitely put him out. But do you think he has any issues with the colored lens and over the clear lens?
I don't know. So yeah, we like the first couple of days we had him on, it wasn't really that sunny, so I was like, let's just let him get used to the clear lens. But he didn't seem to notice a difference when we put those on. And my husband was like, now we match.
Yeah, I just saw the picture.
Both have the reflective sunglasses. But no, it didn't seem to matter. I kind of joked that like I wonder if he's on point, if the pheasants can see themselves in the reflection or not.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny. No, that's awesome. So what's a big goal for North Dakota Game and Fish over the next year?
Well, just we're trying, like, again, I think I mentioned in the intro there that not seeing like crazy decreases. So we're kind of just in a mode compared to some of the other states of just trying to kind of get our ducks in a row and figure out some ways to better like measure these things so we can get a gauge on them. Otherwise we just hired a marketing person, which is pretty
nice,
kind of unheard of for game. Well, other game and fish agencies have started doing that, but it's crazy to mention that to a government agency that we should have a marketing person. But just a lot of important messages we need to get out, not only from my perspective, but like aquatic nuisance species and chronic wasting disease, or just anytime anything comes up where we need to get the word out quickly. It'll just have a marketing person. Is
the game and fish department separate? So we have like the Iowa DNR.
Mm-hmm.
Is that separate then from? Does North Dakota have DNR, or is that?
Nope. So Game and Fish is essentially our DNR. I'm pretty sure I was like this, but their DNR also includes like their state parks program.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's how like Minnesota is too. So it's Department of Natural Resources, and that's their parks and their like Game and Fish. But we just have North Dakota Game and Fish as one agency, and then North Dakota Parks and Rec as our state park agency.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It seems like I was a little behind the times because South Dakota has the app now for out of state to get your license, and North Dakota has it. And I don't know if Iowa, I haven't seen anything on Iowa. They do have these little cards that you can carry that have I won't show it because it shows my social security number, but says like if you get stopped by the DNR, you can show them this card and they can scan this little code on the back, and it says what licenses you have and stuff, so you don't have to carry the big tag and whatnot around, unless you have like a deer tag or something like that. Then you have to obviously have that to put on the deer. Just your other stuff or your duck stamp. But awesome. Well, Kayla, I definitely appreciate you coming on. It was fun talking to you, learning more about North Dakota, and obviously Nick.
I apologize, I was a hot mess. My wife's gone and trying to wrangle 2 kids. So
no problem.
Definitely awesome to learn about the Poodle Pointer, and so everybody make sure you go check her out on Instagram. She has pretty cool photos, and her most recent one I think is of her husband in the Finley with the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we'll be contacting this year and we can grab a hunt.
Yeah. Let me know if you guys are up here for sure.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So again, thanks for your time.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.